Yo, what is going on, Comfy Gang? It's your boy Comfy Neat here. So, like I was saying last video, today's video is going to be about my experiences with therapy. And I guess the purpose of this video is to give any neets out there who are watching this an idea of what therapy is like in case they are thinking about getting therapy in the future and maybe can make a decision based on, I guess, what I say in this video. But obviously, take what I say with a grain of salt because I guess every therapist is going to be different. So I wouldn't want to necessarily stop anybody from getting therapy who actually needs it. But at the same time, this video might be like a good reference or something. So anyways, for this video, I'm probably just going to go over the whole process of like therapy, like what I did exactly in these sessions. And then afterwards, I'll probably just talk about my personal pros and cons. And for those of you who don't already know or who are new to the channel, this basically all started maybe like probably like almost a year ago, where my parents were recommended this therapist by my aunt because her son had been seeing one, and because he went through some like bad stuff and it seemed to help him a lot. So they talked to me about it, and I was a bit apprehensive at first for various reasons, but I ended up going through with it because I thought, it might be something worth trying. And, some people are also saying that I should just give it a shot because, it might help or something. So I thought, why not? So I ended up going through with it. And the whole process, I guess, is pretty straightforward. It's like you do like a 15-minute introductory call at the start. And then afterwards, I was asked if I wanted to book like a session afterwards. And then I said, yeah. So I think I did a total of 10 sessions, and these sessions were typically 55 minutes in length in theory, but in practice it was more like 50 to 45 minutes because you have to consider like the fact that you're going to be having like small talk with a therapist at the beginning and the end, and like the introductions and stuff, and like getting into like the conversation. I don't know, like some like neurotypical stuff, and then afterwards also like booking the next session. So yeah, that takes up some time. And then my sessions were probably around 2 weeks apart, but then maybe like for like the first 3 sessions, and then afterwards it was like every like 3 weeks to a month pretty much. And so after the introduction, the first official session was basically a quote unquote intake session where the therapist basically just asked me a bunch of questions about myself, very broad stuff, like, I don't know, like random shit, like what's your diet like, or like what do you do, like are you employed, and stuff like that. And then afterwards asked me a bunch of like mental health related stuff, like what are you currently suffering from, or what do you think you're currently suffering from, what symptoms have you been experiencing, and then I guess trying to maybe like diagnose me or something. But not really too much therapy happened at like maybe the first 1 or 2 sessions because it kind of carried over into the next session, like the whole like interview process. But then afterwards, pretty much all the therapy was done in this sort of like interview style where the therapist basically asked me a bunch of questions, except she would give me like more time to respond, more like open-ended questions, asking me about specific experiences in my life, or asking me about like my train of thought, asking me why I think a certain way, and then stuff like that. And then she would like try and like explore different periods of my life, I guess, to like further like diagnose me or something. And then she would I guess in between, like she would like catch something I said, or try and like maybe ask me certain types of questions to like lead me to like a certain way of thinking, or that's how it felt at least. Maybe like in a way like trying to like make me come up with a solution myself, to come up with a sort of thought or something myself, because I guess the purpose of that would be to make me come up with a solution myself so that it might be more meaningful somehow, versus like being told to do something. It might, I guess in theory, not cause the person who's being told what to do to do something. So I guess that was like the purpose of that. And then yeah, and then she also gave me some like, I guess, quote unquote, like psychoeducation. That's what she called it. But it was basically more like advice, or like you know, like life counseling, um, life counseling. But just like, yeah, a lot of like varied advice. I guess some of it was like cognitive behavioral therapy related. Some of it was like about my thoughts or like my emotions and stuff. And then some of it was like evolutionary psychology, like trying to convince me that, staying in your room is not a great thing 24/7, because I guess, the whole like humans are tribal animals and social animals, and therefore, it's like not an evolutionarily sound way of, thinking or behaving, which I guess makes sense because, I mean, I don't know, I feel okay, but sometimes I don't feel that great. So I don't really know whether to trust the way I feel or not. But I guess that's that. And then she also gave me like these like exercises to do in therapy. I didn't really cover too many. Apparently, there was supposed to be a lot more, but I only did 10 sessions. But some of them were like these like mental exercises, like visualizing like a box that lock your like negative emotions, like in case like someone pisses you off or something. Like, then I was supposed to like visualize a box in my head or something, and then like keep it in there so that it wouldn't bother me throughout the day, at least until I got to see the therapist or something. That's one example of that. And then she also gave me like quote unquote like homework, like stuff for me to do, like for example, so some of it was like quote unquote like desensitization therapy, where she tried to get me to like like slowly, gradually, like touch the doorknob like at the front door, and then like and go outside, open the door, and like let it stay open for like 1 or 2 seconds. Probably like a bunch of stuff that makes me look like schizo, but I guess like because obviously probably nobody really cares. So yeah, but it's just funny to think about like seeing, like if you were to watch me, I'd be like some random guy like just like quickly opening the door and fucking like standing there for like 2 seconds and then fucking closing it, and something like that. And the goal was to like have me go out more and more, you know what I mean, like gradually like make me do more like normie stuff, going outside and taking a walk in the park or something. And yeah, so that pretty much sums up the entire process. And I did a total of 10 sessions, as I said before. And the last one, I just kind of asked for some like advice, and she just told me to like keep doing what I was doing. And yeah, so that's the process. So what are the pros and cons of therapy, in my opinion? So the first pro is that given that I'm a shut-in NEET hikikomori that's in my room 24/7, who has probably never hasn't heard the voice of a woman, or uh, seen a woman in real life, let alone felt the touch of a woman in years. It was nice to hear the silky smooth sultry voice of a woman over the phone. And it kind of gave me butterflies in my stomach, and kind of reminded me what it was like to fall in love. Obviously I'm not being serious right now, but um, I guess if you think about it, that might be a pro if you're really starved for female attention or something. I guess, like, honestly, like I don't personally really, like, I'm at the point where I'm so fucked that I only care about 2D women. Fucking 2D women, which I didn't actually get to bring up with my therapist for reasons I'll get into. But that'd be kind of funny though, like talking about my love for the waifus and stuff like that. But yeah, that's one potential pro. But on to like the real pros. The first one would be that it's, I guess, like it's nice to be listened to. And I think that part of the appeal of therapy is the fact that you get to talk to somebody and have them actually listen to you, even if the concern that they're showing might be feigned or like might be like an act or something. If you're able to maybe suspend disbelief or maybe get those doubting like thoughts out of your mind, then it does feel nice to be listened to, especially if you are someone like me. Well, I guess like most needs, like I guess they don't really have anybody to talk, you know, about this stuff to, apart from maybe Discord. But I feel like that's not really the same, and even then you might not really get the same amount of attention unless you're talking to someone one-on-one. But it's always different when you're like, it feels different when you're actually like talking over the phone or something versus text. It kind of feels like more impersonal, I guess. And so that's one pro. Another pro is that I think the therapist went out of her way to maybe like validate some of the things that I was going through. And that's another thing, like I guess it's debatable as to whether that's beneficial or not, but from a subjective standpoint, it does feel nice when maybe you talk about bullying, and then they try and tell you that that it wasn't your fault and that there's nothing you really could have done at the time because you didn't really know any better, or like the stuff that you went through was really horrible, and that that it was quote unquote abuse or something. I don't know whether that actually helps me or not, but it does feel nice in the moment. And I think the idea of like maybe taking the blame off myself, was a bit helpful, I guess, because for a long time, I kind of blamed myself for being weak and not knowing any better, being kind of like socially retarded to not like stand up for myself and stuff. But I guess that was one helpful realization, was that I couldn't really have known better at the time, because I wasn't really cognizant a lot of different things. Now that I am, I feel like I probably wouldn't let anyone talk to me like that in real life, especially. But so there's that. And another pro is that I guess she tried to like frame all of my problems as if it was a normal thing for me to do. Like, for example, my social anxiety is like something that's common among a lot of people, and that some people respond differently. In some ways, I could see it being off-putting to some people, because when you've suffered from this all your life, it might almost feel like you're being like gaslit or told that what your problems aren't actually real. But I think what I felt at least was that she was trying to say that your problems are real, but that it's something that's like just like a byproduct of a lot of different evolutionary forces, that control your behavior. Part of it is like biologically determined in terms of like your temperament and stuff like that. And so I guess the benefit of that is that if you I guess have to eventually be forced to return to society or something, this idea that you're a normal person even though you actually aren't, or you aren't behaving normal, I guess it's good because it stops you from falling into like a self-fulfilling prophecy of where, let's say you get a diagnosis or you convince yourself that you're like like a schizo or something, then you end up like looking for evidence that confirms that belief, and it ends up leading to like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I can understand that approach, and I feel that might be a pro for some people. I guess it was a bit nice, I guess, and I could kind of see like the benefit of that. And the last pro is that I think some of the exercises and some of the advice she gave was good. Even I don't think I tried explaining to her my view of society, and not wanting to conform to people's expectations. And it seems like in a sense she didn't necessarily try and counteract that, but she just approached it more from the standpoint of like, what are things that you're going to have to do anyway in order to survive, especially in the future, and to approach it from that standpoint. And I guess it kind of made sense. And I think the exercises that she gave me would work for a lot of people, but especially if certain conditions are met. But yeah, I think overall the advice she gave was relatively sound. Probably might work over the long run to varying degrees of efficacy, but or like of how well it works. And yeah, I guess those are like all the pros. So now for the cons. The first con would probably have to be the length of the sessions, because it really just felt like there's only so much you can talk about in like 45 to 50 minutes, and sometimes it felt like topics were being stretched, and that something might have to be stretched across to like 2 different sessions, and then it would almost feel like that would interrupt the flow of things and just like make things way more inefficient, and almost felt like there's like more that could be talked about that didn't get to be talked about. And another thing is relating to that is the fact that like I really only focused on my social anxiety in these sessions, but it feels like there's a lot of other things that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really get a chance to, like, I don't know, like my family dynamics or something, or other stuff that's happened, or other things that I think I'm suffering from. But it just felt like if I were to focus on curing social anxiety alone, I feel like that would probably take, maybe at least a good 40 to 50 sessions, because, there's so much to talk about. And I don't think it's something that's can be solved within like 10 sessions, given the way therapy was going. And it might be different for different therapists, but I think that, it's probably not realistic to expect your problems to be fixed within a short span of time like that. And relating to the length of the sessions is the price, because the sessions were quite expensive, and I was kind of mindful about I think my parents were willing to go for more, but I kind of like cut it off because it felt like it was going like way too slow, and that I just kind of felt like it was like dragging on, and that not a lot was like really getting done given like the amount of like time in each session. And then it also felt like it almost felt like I guess given the price, like you can't help getting these thoughts that like the therapist is almost like trying to like milk you for money, because she would also like do this thing where like at the start of the session she would like say like, so next session like we can talk about this or do that, but that she would always do it in like this very like almost like algorithmic, like very like rehearsed way, that kind of made me feel like she was like priming me to like book another session, almost like I've learned about this stuff like before, like this idea of like psychological consistency, like it's a byproduct of like cognitive dissonance, and this idea that like if you agree to a statement that like next session you're going to do something, then to stay consistent with that agreement, you're more likely to book a session in the future. I think it's called the foot in the door technique, and maybe it's all in my head, or maybe that wasn't her intention, or maybe her intention was to keep me on therapy because for my own well-being. But I guess I should give her that benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, given the price of therapy, it's hard not to think those types of thoughts, if you know what I'm saying. And also related to that is like, that also relates to like all the stuff that I mentioned about not being able to like talk about like different issues, and how long it would take just to sort out an issue by talking alone. And another issue is things like con is like things like compliance. Like at the end of the day, even despite the price of therapy, I guess you would go into it thinking that it would be something that would just fix your problems or lead to some massive change on its own. But I guess what you need to know going to therapy is that I think you're expected to take a lot of initiative, even as the person paying. So I think you would think that the therapist would lead you towards certain types of thoughts, or like types of things, or like know how to guide it in the best way possible. But like for example, she spent like a good maybe like 2 sessions asking about various periods in my life, which nothing honestly like serious happened to me. but it almost felt like she was like digging for something because she didn't really know what to look for to talk about. And then eventually I had to like take initiative and, like tell her like that I wanted to talk about the time in my life when I was bullied, because she was like focusing on like when I was in like 6th grade, or like when I was like in kindergarten or something, and nothing really bad happened then. Maybe I could remember some things, but nothing related to like my social anxiety, which was like the primary focus of the sessions. So yeah, there's that. And also this idea that as far as like that compliance, like in terms of like the exercises and stuff, like obviously I will say that I think these exercises might, provide you some benefit. I don't think they're gonna necessarily help everybody, and they're definitely not gonna, help you ascend and become some normie who can just get a girlfriend really easily. So, obviously, I don't know, I'm pretty sure most people watching my channel don't have that expectation, but, I think there's this sort of like romanticized idea that therapy will fix all your problems if you just go to like the therapist that's right for you. But I highly doubt that. And I think but at the same, yeah, that's another thing, Colin, is that it's not going to fix all your problems, especially given the price, but also that, like, yeah, like you have to take initiative. And if you're the type of person who has really trouble following through on doing things, has trouble sticking to new habits, has trouble developing like new routines and stuff, then when the therapist gives you exercises, it's not like that's going to magically change just because the therapist is telling you to do something. And I guess it is good to have that like kind of like social pressure of the therapist like reminding you to do stuff, maybe like gently reminding you and nagging you, and maybe it does cause a little bit of change, but it doesn't at the same time you're probably not getting the full benefits of therapy. So maybe people who are more like studious, who are more conscientious, will probably benefit from therapy a lot more than people with like neat, lazy tendencies, who are more like ephemeral, who are more I guess like all over the place, like in their like priorities, and like they're just like ADHD almost, pretty much. And yeah, so yeah, like you're definitely expected to like do a lot of the work on your own in order to get better. And it's not like the therapist is gonna do something magically. Like it probably will help over the long run, but then that factors into this idea of like price, because like it'll help for sure if you're able to see the therapist, because even like for a long time, because even if you aren't doing things consistently, it might overall lead to some like positive change, where like you're maybe a little bit less depressed, or a little bit less I don't know, lazy, maybe more able to do things properly. And another thing is that I tried bringing up this issue of like my procrastination and why I wasn't able to do things, and then she tried to like focus on that, but it seemed like she didn't really have an answer for that. So maybe that's just unique to my therapist, but that's something to consider, that the therapist might not have the answer to motivate you to even take the necessary steps to improve yourself. Not like, to improve, like like I'm improving, like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that's probably not, it's fucking hell. My brain is fried. It's probably not going to happen by itself. And yeah, so I guess that's pretty much all the cons I can think of. So yeah, kind of lost my train of thought there, to be honest. So sorry if that kind of like ended abruptly. But I guess you guys are probably wondering if anything actually transpired from therapy. And I guess one thing did transpire. And basically one assignment she gave me was that she really wanted me to talk to my doctor and have a conversation about medicine. And she tried to tell me that, a lot of her clients have benefited from, things like, I don't know, I forget what she was saying, but like all sorts of like medicine, and that, like they, have, it's helped some people. Most people have said positive things about it. So she wanted me to basically have a conversation with my doctor about that. And Part of my goals of getting over social anxiety was supposed to be calling up my doctor and making an appointment to talk about that stuff. And I ended up making that call and saw my family doctor and talked about it a little bit, told him that I was seeing a therapist, and then I kind of brought it up while I was also seeing him for the stomach issues to like the second time I saw him. And then he basically gave me this like 15 question questionnaire, rate a bunch of things from 1 to 5. I was probably like a moderate to mild for most of the questions, but yeah, I guess that was enough apparently. So based on that, he prescribed me what's it called, I'm not going to show the bottle because like the front, because it has like addresses and like my name and stuff, but me oh shit, yeah, like I guess like, yeah, I got prescribed Zoloft basically, or sertraline. And as to whether I've taken it or not, the answer is no. And the reason for that is because it didn't seem like he kind of like framed it as something that I could try, but not something that is like absolutely necessary. And he also said it might help or it might not, but just to try it out and see. But then the thing that concerned me is that, first of all, like how easy it was to actually get. Like I'm pretty sure if I just went in any other day and complained that I was feeling depressed and filled out the same questionnaire, like I probably could have gotten the medication anyway. So I think that's one thing that's kind of worrying, like how easy it was to get prescribed it. So it kind of begs the question whether it's really necessary or not, because you could probably like easily fake these questionnaires. Like there's like no like basically like no like testing except for like a self-reported type thing. And also the other thing is that everyone who I've talked to about this medication has never had anything good to say about it, despite me being told that it's helped some people. Like for the people who I've talked to, at best they've said that it does nothing for them, and at worst it might maybe cause a little bit of relief, but then it leads to all sorts of side effects. The depression comes back, the dosages have to increase, and then at least like dependence in the long run. And it kind of like reminded me of this bad experience I had pretty recently when I was taking this medication for my stomach. And when I stopped taking this medication, it gave me really bad acid reflux for the first time in my life. And that was just for like a simple antacid that was supposed to be very mild, and I wasn't even taking that much of it, and it still caused me to have like belching acid basically. Like I was only taking like one pill like in the morning, and like or like maybe two pills at the most, and it still gave me those symptoms. So I had to like wean off of it, and eventually like just force myself to deal with 3 weeks of what's it called, acid reflux, to get over it. But that just kind of like gave me this thought in my head that a lot of these medications, they're basically regulating things that your body should be regulating on its own, and if not taken correctly or if taken too long, they can lead to things like dependence. And I'm pretty sure dependence on SSRIs is a pretty well-known phenomenon, even if the doses might be low, or eventually if you want to take it more of it, then that's when the trouble starts, like most psychoactive substances, and how tolerance builds and stuff. So I don't know if I'm just like one of those crazy people who doesn't want to take his meds, although I haven't even taken them yet. But I think that's my primary cause of concern. If you guys have any experiences with this sort of medication, or want to share experiences or give me input, just let me know in the comment section below. But as of now, like I'm just really cautious about taking anything, because I don't really feel that insane, to be honest. Although that might be laughable to some people watching this, and when I kind of look at my life situation, maybe I am kind of insane, but I don't feel depressed. Like I don't know if taking an SSRI would necessarily fix anything, because I don't really think depression is my problem. It's supposed to help with anxiety, but I'm really not too sure at this point. apparently it also makes you feel like a zombie, and maybe that's what helps you get through your day, but as opposed to like feeling depressed and like, or like suicidal. But I don't get like suicidal emotions. At most I feel fatigued, so for the most part. So yeah, I'm not really too sure. Anyways, this video has just hit the 30-minute mark, so I'm probably gonna end it now. Hopefully you guys found this entertaining or enjoyable somehow, and if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below. And this is Company signing out, and peace.